Day 2.
Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding Chulin Daf Kovches. We're starting the Chozayin with base 8 lines from the bottom. Omar Yudam Shuavitzu Repichos Ein Shchito Leoif Minatoyro. Minatoyro, you don't have to shecht a bird. Not like we said before. Sheneamar v'shofach b'shvicho be'almo. The pasuk says Asher tzut tzir chay oif v'sheyochel v'shofach es domo. It says chay oif. Thank you. Sorry for the tichah. So chay oif Asher yishofech shvicho. Shvichas dam. You throw the blood. You don't have to shech the blood. You just get rid of the blood. Basically meaning you kill the animal. Kill the bird. Says the Gemara Yachi Chaya Nami. Same pasuk. It says oif. It says chaya too. And to the Gemara itkish lepsulei hamugdosha.
You're saying none of them technically would be
The Chora, according to this, according to the question, it can be. So well, no, chayo is mukash lepsulei hamugdoshim. There's a hekesh lepsulei hamugdoshim. So because it says later, because it says katzir chayo. You're makish the animal katzir chayo. Oif nami itkish lebeimo. We also find oif is similar to beimo. Techtiv zois torah sabeimo ve'oif. So the Gemara achtiv v'shavach es damoy. It says shavach es damoy. That's the first pasuk we just mentioned. It says the Gemara ma'chazi d'shadi le'aloy shadi achayim. So we have the same pasuk. It says chayav v'oif v'shavach. You're saying the shavach refers to the oif only, not to the chayav. Why? Because chayav you compare it to Shalom Dashim, but oif you compare it to beimos. So I don't know which one to choose. It says the Gemara mistabro mishum the solik mina. You said chayav v'oif asher yishafech. The word shvicha is written next to oif, closer to oif than chayav. So here you learn that the oif you don't have to kill, you don't have to shecht, chayav you do.
Amen.
Ask the Gemara meisivei. There's one question. It says "Hashoichet v'nisnab lo b'yodoi." Someone who shecht and as he's doing shchita, the bird becomes nevel, meaning he does something wrong, becomes a nevel. Hanoicher v'ameaker. Noicher means that you cut it from the nose. Basically, you cut it into half. Meaker is move the simonim. In other words, you're killing the bird in a different way. Patur melechasis. There's no kissing. Here, might ein shchita lo b'natoyro. Nechirosoi zoi shchitasoi libai kisui. If minatoyro, there's no shchita. So minatoyro, when I'm killing the bird, that's the way to eat it. So if so, when you kill the bird, that should be shchita. The yuchai b'kisui. Which animals are chai b'kisui adam? Bird and chayim. So I don't have to kill I don't have to shech the bird. It's a din derabbanan. So when you kill the bird, you should have to be chai b'kisui adam. Says the Gemara, Misos be'oif, when it says that
the concept is that if you say it's a din derabbanan, means that the rabbanan has to be deraisa. So why not say?
So rabbanan will machmir on oif, you require shchita, but you can't ignore the deraisa that says it is shchita. You have to do kisui adam. Says the Gemara, Misos be'oif lo b'chayim. No, when it says in the brayso that Patum and lechasos, when you do nechira or akira, is not referring to the bird. It's talking to a chay. That's what we're talking about. Another question. Someone, what? You know, you can both ways. It says a sheikh ben islam b'yodoi, neichav me'akar patum lechas. And the kisu can be only by yoif or b'chayim. So Shai, what is this price talking about? It's talking about the chayo. It's talking about the oif. How the Gemara is talking about oif? Well, no, it's talking about a chayim. It doesn't say what it is. I'm telling you, it's talking about a chayim. It's not a question to our statement. Says about another right. Someone shechts, but he needs the blood. The din is chayim v'chasus. He needs to do kisui dam. That's a din. It's a mitzvah d'oraisa to cover the blood. Keitzad. Boy, so what should he do? Oy noichoi, oy oikro. What you should do is kill the animal by cutting it in half. Noichoi is cutting for the nose. Oy oikro, remove the simon. My love, oif. Are we talking about oif? The kabai leila the may lean hiko. Why do you need the blood? Why would you need the blood for what purpose? So, well, I'll tell you why. I know why. There's something called yaniko, yaniko. There's some color that you use for that. Marash calls it yaniko's tolas a gedelu big detzem. Right? What?
Protect against moths.
Moss. So that's what you needed. So where you take it from the bird? So you see, the ones I'm killing the bird not through shchita. There's no kisui adam. Says the one loy. Chayo. Talk about chayo. Not about oif. Same answer. What are you going to need the blood for? Lako is to just a color. It's a dye. It's a certain dye, which is a red color, that you use this. Okay. So that is the Gemara took away these two rights. Tash Gemara continues. Molak v'sokin mitam ibgodim abesablio. If a person goes and he did miliko and he used the knife instead of using the finger, so then it's not considered to be shchita. It's not considered to be anything. So it's going to be a nevelo, and if it causes too much godim. If you tell me you don't do shchita at all, so you're right. So before you reach the simon, you broke the neck. It became trefa, became sick. But the sakin, within sakin that reaches the simon eventually. Why is that too much nevelo? You don't need to do shchita. So you want to tell me he's doing from the back of the bird, that's not considered to be shchita. Okay? I don't need to do shchita. So once I reach the simonim, you should not be nevela. Says the Gemara, you're right.
Why is it only dependent on the old age? I mean, isn't the same question if anybody held shchita?
No, because if you held the yesh shchita, I'll tell you, that's not shchita. In order to get away from nevela, you have to say do shchita. It's not shchita. From the back, going from the back is not shchita.
You're saying it's count. So if it's not, if you say ain't shchita, this is a good enough shchita to get rid of veil. If you require shchita, then you need a real shchita.
Yeah. If I don't need shchita, I can't. Any way I kill it, it's good enough.
So if he does malika instead of shchita, does malika, why should it should also be in the veil?
So that great, right? So that the Gemara will address them. That's Yechezkel. Really, the Gemara said you have to say it's not treifah. He didn't kill it because without rebusser. But the fact that it works is Yechezkel that works that way. Says the Gemara, "Who do all the Tanya blows a couple of Rabbi Yoimer Matam Loimach Kasher Yocheles Tzvi v'Sayol." That's the pasuk mentioned before that you're comparing the tzvi in the ayol to psula mukdoshim. Chimal amanu tzvi v'ayol me'ato. What do you learn with tzvi v'ayol from Chayes? Me'ato raise the bar lamed v'nin tzalomet. Makish tzvi v'ayol psula mukdoshim. You're comparing the tzvi and ayol, which is the Chayes, to psula mukdoshim. Ma psula mukdoshim b'shchito. The same way you comparing, you have to have shchita. But if you don't have shchita, in other words, this bandama blows a copper berebi, Rashi berebi means adam chashuv. He holds that ain't shchita loy b'natayah. You brought me a question from before regarding Malika, and there you see the yesh shchita loy. It's a different bandama. You're arguing. Says the Gemara, Mantan, the Polig Alei blows our copper. Who argues the blows our copper and holds the shchita b'natayah? Rabbi, the shchita b'natayah. Rabbi Yoimer, v'zavachto kasher tzivisicho. Do shchita as you were told. Melamed yitztav Moshe was ordered alaveshet v'alakone, the two different simonim, v'alroiv echad b'oif, v'alroiv shnayim b'beimo. So all the shchita were told to Moshe, including oif. So this is a machlekes. The Gemara basically comes to a conclusion. It's a machlekes tanoim if there's shchita the oif in a Torah, yes or no. So the Gemara echad oif. Now we learn in the Mishnah you shept one of the simonim. Now what are the two simonim that we have in every animal, every creature? You have kane and veshet. Kane is the breathing tube, and veshet is the eating tube. Now ba'oif you don't have to cut both simonim. One simon is enough. Which one? Says the Gemara, either or either or. No, it has to be davka the veshet, davka the eating tube, and not the breathing tube. It says one. It doesn't say which one. So it's either or. Davka is not kone. Why is it miyuchot? Oh. Rabbi Harry is asking, why is it miyuchad? So look at Rashi. Rashi says, Veshet miyuchad shebesimonim. Who? Shechayus habeimo tolui boy da benekem mashu mitarfo v'lukone adriv sakub. Interesting point. By a veshet, the eating tube, if I have even a small hole, the animal is straight. By a kone, the breathing tube, even a hole can be until you don't get to roiv, the animal is still okay.
It's counterintuitive.
Oh, Why?
Because when I say what happens if the animal's not hungry, it's
Oh.
no problem.
So I saw.
It's more vital than eating.
Oh, so you're right. I saw there's a Gavaldic thing, built in a few things. It's brought down that it's already brought down. The Bishesha brings it in the Magid Mishor. Magid Mishor is what he heard from the Magid. Magid told him that the Kone in the Veshet, the Kone is Keneged Olam Haba. Because Kone, breathing, is like when the voice comes out, reflecting Torah, mitzvahs, Asiyah. Veshet is eating, is Olam Haba. In this world, in order to live in this world, you have to have food. It's a symbol. Kane is something which is a little more ruchni. You can manage without having it perfectly. But this world has to be perfected, right? You have to be able to live. So that's the premise.
To eat to live or live to eat?
Oh, but at least you have. So what do you see over here? The Gemara says, the one thing you have to shech by your life is veshet, according to this bandam. Meisivei asked the Gemara, more than I could bring a few rice. It says shachat the veshet, da'chaken nishvutah gargeres. We learned this earlier. He shech the veshet, and then the gargeres is the kon, and then the kon moved from his place. Cheiro. Why? Because the shechita happened before the movement. Nishvutah gargeres da'chaken shachat the veshet. If the gargeres moved from its place and then there was shechita, psul. Why? Because the gargeres wasn't in place. Shachat the veshet v'nitz gargeres shmuto. He did the veshet and then gargeres is moved. It doesn't know when it was moved. Zaya Maise. For almost something b'shchita psula. You go to chumrah. That would have to do with chazakas. You go to chumrah. It doesn't bring the case of shchita b'gageres. The whole Bryce talk about shchita and the veshet. Veshet before the gageres moved, after the gageres moved. I don't know if the gageres moved, but the shchita is mentioned only by veshet. Is it a coincidence? I'm only using the example of veshet. Says the Gemara, no. I need to give you a case that it moves. What moves? It's more common for the kane to move than the veshet. So that's why, because it's the location. I now that I understand so much the anatomy of a bird, but the idea is we'll see later because the veshet is closer. It's covered in sinews, and the kane is a little more loose, so it's easier to move it.
So doesn't he come to the kane? When the shechet shechs, doesn't he come to the kane first?
Not necessarily. I think it's more next to each other. I think. I'm not sure. Toshma shochat shnei chatzei simonim be'oiv psul. If you did half of the simon twice, it doesn't work. It has to be right. Because the behemoth needs to be right. It says you have to shech not only the simon, according to Rabbi, also the vridim, which is the sinews. So why saying veshet? Say kane. Why is the Rabbi saying say simon echod is the vridim? One of the simonim. I can do either or. Why is speaking only veshet? Says the Gemara, the veshet some of vridim, because veshet is as close, as very near the vridim. That's why you give that example. But really, you can do kane in the vridim. Toshma more brings another right. Shochat chatzi gargeres. He's shechting half of the gargeres of the kane. V'shol kedesh shchita cheres, and he waited. He did a little bit of a shihiyah. My wife. The Gomra shchitas l'ksher. And we'll see the Gemara. The Gemara's half of it. He's doing half. No, he did half. He absolutely have to do roiv. To do roiv simon. He did only half. Shochat chatzi gargeres. V'shol kedesh shchita cheres. The Gomra shchitas l'ksher. It's okay.
Even if it wasn't Gomra, it wouldn't be.
He has to get to roiv. Real Gomer means he got to where he's supposed to get. It is kosher, even though he did a break. That's a kiddush. Even though there was a break, he did half.
How much did he do? He did 1.5. No.
No, he did half. Only half.
Half of what?
Half of a simon.
So far nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Meaning he waited. He did a little bit of break.
And then he did.
And then he continued checking that same simon.
On the same symbol.
Yes. She said it's kosher. What's a kiddush? Even though there was a break in the middle. Okay. My love, boif, umay gomro gargeres. Because again, what was the case that the Bryce started with? He started shchita in the gargeres, in the kone. Then he went to do something else and came back, and he finished. It's okay. Finish what? That same simon. Meaning he finished the gargeres. Masha, you don't have to share the veshet. Gageres is good enough. Raya against my number that says you must share the veshet.
But the fact of the matter is, he was over on Shia.
No, that I have to understand. Here, there's no Shia here. Rashi explains a little bit.
No Shia?
In this case,
He
says,
had lunch, came back.
why? Because he did only half. Because he didn't do, when you do half, the animal is still alive. Look at Lashon Rashi. Look at the side.
What's the story for Shia in the first place?
Shia is a problem when you're stopping in the middle of a shechita, so you have to do it. Yeah, no, but it's place of the animal because it makes that treif. Now here, he didn't finish the shechita. Look at Lashon Rashi. Shabo, Shero, Mishum dechatzi gageres lavat chol shechita. Shafiu nikar chetzel lo mitar v'beoket. Right? So in other words, he started checking. He got to the half of the cut. Half the cut in there, the bird is still okay. So therefore, if he did a break right now, no issue. No issue. Comes the price that says, if he finished it, good. Masha, he finished that same thing he started with. And we talk about life. Mash brother, shchita b'gageres enough, you don't need to vesh it. So the more loy, bebehem. Talk about bebehem. My God, no God, the shchita kol. I mean, you have to do bebehem two simonim. So he started by doing half of the kone, did a break, came back, continued the kone, continued the veshet, and finished the shchita. It's kosher, even though there was a break. So the Gemara says again, not a riot to life, because it could be talking about behem. What's wrong?
Again, there was no Shia here?
No, because Rashi said, once you do gargaris, it goes back to the previous halach. But gargaris, as long as if you have a hole which is less than half, there's half or less, it doesn't make the animal treif. So that's the chiddush of the brayso. If you did a hole in the gargaris, in the corner, of up to half, the animal you didn't start shechita. It's as if you went and you made a wound in the finger. Nothing happened. You did a break, no issue. You come back afterwards and continue. You continue from where you were. That's the chiddush of the brayso. Now, that works only like gargaris, not my veshet. Because my veshet, the smallest hole already makes it treif. So the chiddush is when you start half gargaris, now you can continue. Continue what? So we understand, talk about oif, and you continue the oif. You continue the gargaris. So you see, you don't have to do shechita by kani, you can do shechita by veshet. You don't have to do shechita by veshet, all the by kani. So more no, talk about behemo. Continue both simon. Toshmas the Gemara ratio yo chatzi kone pogo. There was already a half of a hole in the kone. There was already half was cut. As we saw before, and then he had a little bit more. That's kosher because that brought it to right. Like we said before. My love, if you think about a oif, if you think about a kone, not a veshet, that's good enough. So my go the kone. My go the veshet. So you start with the kone, you made half. I mean, there's no problem. Really the same case. But even if it happened naturally, as long as the kone is less than half, you're okay. Once you want to continue, you have to continue the kone and the veshet. It's a behemo. Toshma continues the Gemara. Keitzad molkim chatas oif. How do you do milika b'chatas oif? We saw that also before. Choydech shedu mafekes. He cuts the spine and the neck. Without the majority of the meat that's over there. Until he reaches one of the simonim, either veshet or kone. And once he reached the veshet or kone, choydech simon echod, choydech one of them. And that's the shechito. Either or. That's what we learn in Lashon Yavdil, has to be shnayim or shnayim. So what do you see clearly over here? That you can check either the kone or the veshet. Tiyuvto the avada ba'ava tiyuvto. That's a steer of ba'ava that says to be davka the veshet. Says the Gemara, my avalo. What happened with this name, bro? My avalo can do what do you mean there was a tiyuvto? We just proved that you could do either. Says the Gemara, Dilma Shani also the Ika Shedru Africa. It's not a great rhyme. Interesting. Even though the Gemara said tiyuvto, right? Ba'ava tiyuvto. It's not really a shlugga. Why? Because it could be that there you already cut off the neck bone. So once they cut off the neck bone, now any simon you do works.
This is by
chatos. I mean, lika v'chatos. He's ma'alik. How does he do miliko? He goes from the back of the bird.
Didn't you say that is part of the Xeris HaKosu?
That you could do it, but which simon? The simon we have no Xeris HaKosu. This HaKosu is that you go from the back with your finger, and that's how you do it. But you have to get to the simon. Which simon? So simon should be the same like shechita. Here you say, so I'm saying maybe, the Gemara says now, maybe not. Maybe usually I need to do dafka veshet. But when you already broke the neck bone, then I can choose either or. That's what it means, it's not a good raya. So the Gemara Tashma, Dahu Bar Avzo, there was this bird, this geese, the Ava Beirov, it was in the house of Rova. Also, Masmas Kiyui Dome. He came and there was blood coming out of his of his neck. Now, so now I have to check, why is he bleeding? Is there anything wrong?
You're not a chef a goose?
Yeah, it's a bird, kosher bird, right? So, what should we do?
I always thought it was a young.
No, not for Corbin. Rather when they had a barbecue and he wanted to eat. Now they had the bird, and the bird had a little bit of blood coming out of its neck. You have to check if the bird is something you haven't, is something wrong. What should we do? The kofches would base. Maybe check the bird first, and then you'll check to see if everything is okay. Maybe there's already a hole right now. That's it's bleeding. And when you're shechting, you're getting to the hole. You're not going to find the hole because the hole is where the shechita is. Maybe you'll check it before the shechita. You can't check a veshet b'chutz from the outside part, only from the inside. Why? Because the Rashi explains over here. We'll get to that a little later. Because even the smallest hole makes a treif. So from the outside it can be full, and the inside it can have some penetration. So in other words, and the only way to check a veshet is to open it up and look inside. While the bird is still alive, I can't do that. I can check the outside by touching the neck of the bird, but I can't do the inside, right? So you're catching the veshet together with him. Here's my solution. Check the kone. The kone is the other simon. The kone you could check from the outside because it has to be roiv, so it's easy to check. So check the kone. Then nishchete the kone. Then check the kone. It's kosher. So you check the kone. You know there's no holes in the kone. You check the kone. Then you'll turn around. You put the veshet upside down. So he says, I have a great solution. You can choose either one of the things to do shchita. Either kone veshet. That's the raya. You can do either one. So do the shchita. The kone you can check while it's still alive. So then you check it. You shecht it. Then you look at the veshet, and if you see that there's no problem, you know that the bleeding didn't cause treifah. My son Yosef is so smart in treifah, like a Yechanan. So you see, the echad means either kone or veshet, because that's what he said. That was the solution of Yosef. Shech the veshet, and shech the kone. So you see, for me, you could do either one. That was the right. What?
I hope we didn't say this in front of everyone.
That you're smart like a Yechanan, the shvach, you know. Says what we do, you have to do, you have to make sure to cut the sinews, the vridim. After by a bird, you have to make sure to cut the sinews. Because he takes the entire bird and he fries it as once. So you have to make sure to remove the blood from the bird. If you don't cut the vridim, which is the sinews, the blood stays inside. You don't do it as once. You cut it anyway to small pieces. So there, the blood anyway will come out. So you want to tell me the reason I'm reading is because of the blood? It says you have to shech the vridim. According to you, you have to shech the vridim, just to make a hole and let it go out. No need shchit over here. So the more right, just make a hole in it. Doing shchita, you make the hole. Toshma vridim b'shchita livei abudo. Masha vridim is part of shchita. Aim of vridim tzorch le'nakam shal shchita livei abudo. Not that you have to, not the shchita. You have to make sure to remove the blood.
Is that what they do today?
I think so. I'm not so. I think so. Toshma amula le'abudo me'achad shel uskuru vridim. I don't know passing abudo. I'm not sure. Toshma amula le'abudo me'achad shel uskuru vridim. The all the point of the video is taking the blood. So why do you have to do shchita? So why? So was the shchita as a part of the ma'aser shchita? Michlad Abidu soy b'shchita. No, that's what they ask Abidu. Why do b'shchita? Hakikam mali nakum b'shas shchita. Mali nakum b'shas shchita. In other words, the Gemara in the question understands what is the attack over here. Sounds like Abidu holds a way to do shchita. You have to cut the simonim and cut the sinews. No. Shchita is only the simonim. Sinews is for blood purposes. Just to remove the blood. So what is the Gemara saying b'shchita? I mean the shas shchita. You have to do it while you're doing shchita. Why? Says the Gemara. While you do shchita, the blood is hot and it comes out easier. The blood won't come because it becomes cold. Says the Gemara, boy of you. Read the Abiudo when you have sinners according to Abiudo. Shalom, he did shihiyah. Doris bam, we did it in one shot. Ma'u. In other words, your viewer is not so sure if Abiudo means shchita b'amash or not. So the Abiudo really says to cut the vreedin, is that only to take the blood? So you can do shihiyah, you can do, I don't care what you do. Or it's a part of the shchita. There's no din shchita. Take a little thorn, make a hole, let the blood come out. No problem. Tanaka said that Rav Chizda bring a rayo to Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda is the one who said before that only by a oif you have a din of cutting the vreedim. Shachat shnei chatzei simoni b'oif. He did 2 half of simonim, not a roif pasul. Ve'ein tzorich loymar b'veimu. Behemo, it's a kol sheken that you could do the 2 halves are not enough. V'do'inu b'oif be'oif achi yishchet v'eshet v'esavridim. So the v'eshet v'ridim is clearly he's talking about oif, and only there he says the inyan of the vridim. So just to mention one thing as we end, we'll end over here today. Is that I said we'll come back to it yesterday? Is that we learned at the end of yesterday's daf the idea that the behemo is created from the yabasha and the oif is created from the rockok, which is like the swamp, and the doggy from the water. That's why it's different. So we mentioned a little bit yesterday the idea that it's more gashmi. The Teres Chaim, I saw today, says no from Moed. He says, what's the idea of shchita? What's the point of shchita? Shchita is what shchita does takes away the animal from the hands of Malach HaMavos. If the animal dies on its own, Malach HaMavos took it away. When Malach HaMavos takes it away, it's an avela. So all the shchita is doing is taking away from Malach HaMavos. So what he says in a more simple idea. The more life it has, in order to take away from Malach HaMavos, you have to do more of a shchita. So an animal who's a big, strong, in order to take away Malach HaMavos, you have to go 2 simon. Or if it's not so much, you have to do 1. The dogim, they don't really have livelihood like in the water. So to take away from Malach HaMavos, you just have to pick them out of the water, and that's it. And that's his yisoid.
Animals still die, doesn't
If they die, it's Malach HaMavos.
No, but even if it kills them.
Not Malach HaMavos. That's you. That's Chiddush. Malach HaMavos there. Oh, by animals.
Maybe by fish there isn't.
Maybe there isn't. No, I have to check again the notion. This he reminds because he brings a raya that's Malach HaMavos. It's a raya that I heard from Moshe Beis itself. So the story himself. He was a child, and there was a discussion. Someone came and asked him, very very chashuv Rav, is there Malach HaMavos by animals? So said Rav Moshe Beis, of course. He was a kid. He said, of course. It says in the Gemara Movitzia, Malach HaMavos Malihocha Maliosa. It says by the animal, if it died, where did it die? By the shomer. It says, who cares? Malach HaMavos Maliosa is clearly. So I saw Teres Chaim brings that as a raya. That's his raya in the sugya. How do you know that Malach by animal? It says in Gemara, Malach HaMavos Maliocha Maliosa. We see Malach HaMavos by animals. That was it.
Maybe that's what he wants to say.
Well,
Why fish?